I've taken motivation and I've broken it down into a science and into a ritual and into something that I practice very deeply. I've been practicing it for a long time. It's not easy, but I want to walk you through the formula because all it takes is maybe a 30-45 minute investment a day from yourself to create your own formula, but also ways to keep reminders around you all day long, every single day. It just takes a different thought process. It's a thought process like you've had your whole life. You think something's difficult and you finally do it and you're like, it wasn't that hard. I finally get it. I've been getting a lot of requests lately for mindset. You know, we used to talk about mindset a lot in this academy and we moved on to a lot of sales stuff. And I think sales and mindset are equal, but I believe it starts with mindset. I always tell people that if I want to hire somebody to be on my team, the first thing I look at is their mindset, their perspective, their attitude, their will to deal with adversity, because I believe being a positive force starts first. And it's not easy to always be a positive force, especially in today's day and age where we have so much stuff being thrown at us left and right, specifically in mortgage banking. So today's show is going to be based off of keeping your mind primed for success, not only for one day, not only the first of the month, not only at 8 a.m., and not only when things are glorious in your life, but also when things are falling apart in your life. Because I think that's one of the biggest differences between the most successful people that I know. And I know plenty of them, and they're way above me as far as levels are concerned financially. And these people have a certain way of looking at life, and they don't let the negative bullshit that affects everyone else affect them. And I wouldn't say I'm at that level yet, but I'll say I'm pretty darn close. And I try to stay pretty darn close, but it takes a lot of work to get there. So I'm going to walk you through today the psychology, the strategy, and the thought process you have to go to if you really want to be on fire every single day for your goals and for your success. Priming your mind for success. So the first thing that popped up when I searched success in my Google Drive was this picture with me in the background. And I remember I had this picture up on my wall with my team, and it was something I always talked about. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes a cup. You put water into a teapot, it becomes a teapot. Water can flow or creep or drip or crash. Be water, my friends. And when I think about this quote from Bruce Lee, he was so focused and in a flow state when he practiced and when he fought that nothing would cross his mind but his craft. And when I think about what we do every single day, I think to myself, do we ever get into that flow state? And I'm sure we've all had times where we've gotten at least close to that flow state. And the first thing I want you to do and think about is think about a time where you're like, I did feel like Bruce Lee. I was like water. Nothing could get in my way at that time. Think about that specific time in the past that you've had. What were the circumstances like then? You know, if you want to become successful and you want to stay successful, you have to identify the formula of what it takes to be successful. If you were ever at this level as an individual, think to yourself, what happened in your life to get you to that level? How was your morning like? How was your attitude like? What were you fighting for? What was your personality like? What are the things you were talking about? What are the things you were listening to? Who was the person that influenced you? If you had a mentor or a leader or somebody that put you into that zone, what is it that you were fighting for? And if you never had a time in your life where you feel like you were at this zone, then we'll get into how you get there. But I think first it's important to realize that. And I'll give you guys a perfect example. One time in my life where I realized and I got into this flow state is when I failed the SAFE test for the first time. I sold my company to start mortgage banking. I studied for the SAFE test. I thought I was going to pass it like everything else. I pretty much winged it. And I got a 74.5%. Well, that was adversity that hit me. When I got that 74 point whatever percent, I was told that if I don't pass the second time, I will lose a position. When that happened, I had a very, very silent drive home. And I remember it was so silent. I wasn't thinking about anybody or friends or going out or family or what I'm going to eat. All I was thinking about is what am I going to do for the next 30 days to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I hit a certain level where I blocked out all my friends. I blocked out all my family. I blocked out all the bullshit. And for 30 days, I literally went into caveman mode where I would info dump, read, hang out in libraries and Starbucks and sit down in corners and study by myself and meet people that I never met before and say, do you want to study together? I did everything and I threw the kitchen sink at it for 30 days. I would say I was in a flow state and like water when it came to studying for that test. Now, I use that example because if I did anything for those 30 days, regardless of what it was, I would have terrorized whatever it was. Whether it was playing a sport, practicing for a test, saving money, working hard, writing loans, if I would have put that same exact effort that I put for 30 days because I ended up getting like a 90% and it was like cake the second time, I was over prepared. But if I take that same level of preparedness focus and drive it to other things I'm doing in my life, what could I really do? Now, I say this to you for two reasons. The number one reason I say this to you is because the reason why I got into that state is because my back was against the wall. I said, shit, if I don't pass the second time, I'm not going to be a mortgage banker. I'm not going to get to make big money. I sold my company for nothing. How am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to support my family? I had no other choice because my back was against the wall. It was fight or flight for me. So that's like an aha moment for me. That taught me something. And as a matter of fact, every single day I wake up like it's fight or flight. I don't care how big of a cushion I have in the bank. I don't care how many companies I'm working with. I don't care how many people are subscribed to my academy. I don't care how much money I'm currently making. I pretend that I'm broke every single day and I could lose it all. And I've kept that with me every single day because I feel like that's very powerful. You ever meet somebody, or maybe it's even yourself, that when something happens and the chips are down, or like, you know, somebody's doing shitty at a certain thing and then suddenly they're like, look, man, like you're going to get fired, or like you're not going to be a leader anymore. You see a different version of them come out for 1 week or 2 weeks. You're like, damn, where was this person at the whole time? Or a contest comes out, or there's an opportunity to get promoted, opportunity to win something, and you see a different version of this person come out. You're like, where has that person been? Well, it's because their back was against the wall. You had to force that to come out. You know, if I ever opened up a broker shop, I would have everybody training in credit triggers. And you would have to close 10 credit trigger deals to get to my lead buy region. And when you get to the lead buy region, you'd have to close 20 lead buys to get to my platinum lead flow. You'd have to go through a test in every single phase to show that you have what it takes to get to the next level. I'd put your back up against the wall to make you prove to yourself what you can do before going there. So that's the first reason I bring it up to you. The second reason I bring it up to you is because I recognize the pattern. You know, life's about recognizing patterns. If the pattern to me is when my back's up against the wall, I'm going to perform. How do I force myself to get in that mindset every single time? Well, I do it in unresponsible ways and responsible ways. An unresponsible way I do it in is I don't have a budget. I don't watch my expenses. If I want to buy something, I buy it and I say I have to work harder. And that makes me work harder because I'm going to continue to spend what I want to spend, and I'm going to continue to work harder and harder to get there. I book vacations. Even if I can't budget it, I'll book the vacation early. And I know this vacation's coming, and I know it's going to cost some money, and the money's going to be due a week before, and the credit card's going to be charged, and the interest is going to come, and I only have 30 days to make that payment. And I'll do that sometimes to force myself in an uncomfortable position to work harder. And that for me works out. It might not work out for everybody, but what is it for you to get you into that flow state? How could you put your back up against the wall? And then how could you remember what one of the toughest moments you faced and the toughest thing you've overcame? What version of yourself were you? What were the chips that were laying on the table? What was your purpose? What was your motivation? Who mentored you? How'd you feel? How'd you act? How'd you dress? How'd you wake up? How'd you sleep? And why did you do all of that? And then how could you duplicate that every single day? And that's what we're going to get into as we talk about this. So again, I get this question a lot. Ace, how do you do it? I get it from family members. When something bad happens and I try to stay positive and not let it affect me. Like, man, how aren't you pissed off? I get it from people that are LOs or salespeople on the phone. I could take 20 dials left. I could get cussed out and turn it into a sale. How do you do it? How don't you get affected? And I always get this question. And when I think about the answer, it's really not just one thing. And I'm going to break down the things is because I think you have to be obsessed with being motivated to stay motivated. You know, they say inspiration and motivation don't last very long. It's all about consistency, habits, and actions. So I've taken motivation and I've broken it down into a science and into a ritual and into something that I practice very deeply. I've been practicing it for a long time. It's not easy, but I want to walk you through the formula because all it takes is maybe a 30, 45-minute investment a day from yourself to create your own formula, but also ways to keep reminders around you all day long, every single day. It just takes a different thought process. It's a thought process like you've had your whole life. You think something's difficult and you finally do it and you're like, it wasn't that hard. I finally get it. And that's with everything in life. But you know, the biggest issue that people have is just breaking out of the comfort zone and taking the first step. And then after they take the first step, continuing to take that step every single day because it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes discomfort. Nobody likes delayed gratification. Everybody wants something right now, right here. What makes me feel good right now? Do that thing. Makes me feel good? Do it. Makes me feel good? Do it. Doesn't make me feel good? Stay away. Doesn't make me feel good? Stay away. And then you watch these people like Gary Brecka who helped Dana White extend his life period by 9-10 years. By what? By simply doing things that make him uncomfortable. He says it extends your life by simply grounding outside, meditating, doing breath work, doing cold showers, things like this, sunlight. The small things really work. And the same exact thing for motivation. The things that I break down for you today day will be the small things that will actually work for you. So Brian Tracy defines success, and I looked at a lot of definitions. This is probably one of my favorite ones because I align with this definition of success. Success is the ability to live your life the way you want to live it, doing what you most enjoy, surrounded by people who you admire and respect. I mean, to me, that's true freedom. I used to chase money and objects. I grew past that and I've matured. And then I started chasing time, not time in a sense where I want to own time, but I want to control my own time where it doesn't matter. I could do something whenever I want on my clock, and I'm on the path to do that. So I believe true success is being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and you're truly in charge of your own life and your own time. Now, there's many ways you could get there. You could get there by building a sustainable business. I actually got there as a mortgage banker and a broker. I got to a point where I was working 26, 27 hours a week. I was doing 35, 40 closings a month. I was happy. My business was sustained. I had processes in place. Sometimes it'd get overwhelming, but I had it under control. I could still travel, and I built that in the business. I built that as a leader before with a 40-hour week, and now I'm building that as a consultant with my own business. So there's many ways you could build this. You don't have to be self-employed to build this for yourself. You have to focus on your skill for whatever you're doing. I had a broker yesterday I was talking to at night. He's working every single day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. He has like 45 loans in process. 20 of them fall out. 25 of them will close. And then I told him, like, you're kind of working backwards. I said, I don't think your issue is the hours, man. I think you could work hard, but I don't think it's healthy for you. I'm talking to you right now. You don't even sound like yourself. Like, if you do it this way, it's going to drain you and it's not going to be fulfilling anymore. So I started asking questions. I said, what's going on right now? You had 45 in process. To me, if you have 45 in process, that means at least 40 or 38 should close. What's going on? Why do you have 48 in process and you're telling me you're not going to have a strong check this month? Then he tells me, well, appraisals and fallouts and this and this. And I said, well, what are you doing for those issues right now? He says, well, I try to resell it, but if there's no, I said, so you're doing it backwards. I said, how do you ask about the valuation? He said, well, I tell the client what Zillow says. I said, all right, that's your first mistake, right? I said, like, a simple tweak, if you have, 80% of the loans that you have falling out are because of appraised value, wouldn't it make more sense to spend an extra 3 minutes on the valuation on every single phone call so you could save yourself hours in the back end? And those hours in the back end might lead to success with less time and more freedom and more fulfillment and being happy? And he said, yeah, you're right. I said, that's fucking bullshit. I'm not fucking right. Grab a pen and fucking paper and let me give you 3 things to do where you could change this in 30 days. And if you don't have this problem with valuations, I want you to take this example and put it on whatever problem you're having in your business. You take one problem that you have and you put 3 or 4 actions on that problem and you totally destroy that problem. You make it vanish. You squash it like a whack-a-mole. 3, 4, 5, 6 times. That's what I want to do. I tell leaders, if you really want to change something on your team or your business, make it a slot machine. Put 3, 4 actions on it. Oh, my people don't care about referrals? Make a referral award. Send a referral email every single day. Make a referral tip every single week. Play a phone call with referrals every Wednesday. Put 4 or 5 actions on referrals and your whole team will be generating referrals because it's on the top of their mind. So I told this guy, write this down. Every single time you're not going to go to Zillow. Don't go to Zillow at all. Go to Zillow last. I said, the first thing I want you to do is tell the client, I'm looking around your neighborhood. Some houses are up, some houses are down. What do you think a conservative value, bare minimum, that your house would appraise for? That's the first question you ask. You're asking for a conservative value, bare minimum. They tell you that answer, then you ask a second question. And you say, where did you come up with that value and why do you think that's so? You listen to what they have to say. Then you pull up the last 3 houses that sold in their area. And you simply tell them, I see this house right by your house. It's about 2,500 square feet, about 100 more than yours. It was built 2 years before yours. It sold for $380,000. Mr. Client, is this house uglier than yours, better than yours, or around the same? Well, that house there is a little nicer. How nicer and how is it nicer? Well, they pretty much have, a nice landscape. They got a brand new porch. It's a newer built home. My home is this, my home is that. So if that house sold for $340,000, what do you think your house would sell to in comparison to this house that just sold 2 months ago? They give you that answer. Okay, here's what Zillow says. Here's what this system says. What do you think, again, is a conservative value that it'll guaranteed come in at? That's taking one simple thing you used to do. You used to go to Zillow and throw a value in there. That's taking one simple thing, putting 5, 6 actions. But let's just keep this example going to show you how you could create fireworks out of one simple problem. And again, if this is not your problem, then think about what your problem is and think about 5, 6, 7 actions. Take it a step further. Then after you do that and you get the valuation, you plant the seed. You tell them, all right, so Mr. Client, I'm going to put it for 320. Zillow says 333. This house sold for this house sold for that. I think that's pretty conservative and that's a good valuation for you. But here's what I'll tell you. If it appraises for higher, we're going to get more cash. If it appraises right around there, everything's going to be the same. If it appraises lower, less cash. And if it's a purchase, if it appraises higher, less. If it appraises lower, you might have to put some down or talk to the realtor or reevaluate the offer. And if it comes in right around the same, you're good. And then after you do that, you plant the expectations that this is the worst case, this is the best case, and either way, I got your back, and either way, this is going to make sense, and either way, you still need to buy this house, or either way, you still need to save the money, or either way, you still need to put cash in the bank, whether it comes in lower or higher, we're going to make something happen because you need something to happen. I'm planting that seed early, and then add a 7th action on top and do a brand right after, I told them. Now, Mr. Client, just so you know, I just spent 5 minutes talking to you about this stuff. These are the kind of things that nobody else is going to do with you. You know what everybody else is going to do with you, Mr. Client? They're going to throw a false value in there. They're going to grease your loan up and launch it into process and slide it down the slip and slide. And then at the end, everything's going to change. And you know what? We call that the sunny side up where I'm from. And I don't believe in the sunny side up, Mr. Client, because I work with my heart and my passion. So I literally just gave you the real valuations. I think it's going to come in here. And what I tell you today is going to stick. That's why you don't have to take any other phone calls. And I pivot. Now think about that compared to Zillow says your house is worth 250. Does that sound right? Perfect. Move on. It's almost like somebody working dumb and somebody working smart. Somebody that's an amateur and a rookie and somebody that's an all-mad and all-star. These are the 2 levels of sales that I'm talking about. And you take this example and you put it onto everything that you do. Everything that you do. And after this guy wrote that all down yesterday, he's like, all right. I said, are you going to do it? He said, yeah. I said, bullshit. Nobody's gonna do it until you show me you're gonna do it. So if you're really gonna do it, tell me how many loans you throw into process over the next 14 days, and then I'll put a calendar reminder and add me to it. And then in the next 45 days, let's see how many of the loans in the next 14 days close. That's how I'll know. And then I said, what it's gonna do for you, it's gonna save you a bunch of time. It's gonna save you a bunch of resells. It's gonna save you so much headaches. It's gonna save you so much stress. Instead of working till 10 at night, work till 4 p.m. Instead of doing 4 loans, do 2 loans. Have a clean, sustainable business. Go to the gym, live your life, get back to your purpose, and do things the right way. Work smarter and not harder. And that was one example with this one gentleman. So think about the thing that's holding you back and how you could put 5, 6 actions. I don't know how that started from success, but I think it was a good story and a good little rant there. Let's keep it going. Everybody knows what success is. They all have their own definition to it. They know what it looks like to them. But before even thinking what it feels and what it looks like and how life's going to be when you find success, I think it's very important on the right side to really evaluate what goes into success. I found myself stressed out the other day, and then somebody had to remind me, hey, idiot, aren't you living your dream right now? Like, remember 5 years ago when you said that, man, I wish I was just full-time consulting and traveling and doing seminars and talking to people and motivating people and having books and all this. Like, wasn't that your dream? It was my dream 5 years ago, and now my dream is 10 levels above that dream. And I found myself stressed out that I have too many companies and I'm back to back and I'm filling up my schedule. And then I told myself, like, this is part of the journey. So the point of that is, like, there's always going to be a new journey, regardless of what you think your success is right now. Like, the true ultimate freedom for me is financial freedom and time. But it also is very necessary. The most important part is realizing and evaluating everything that's going to happen in the middle that's going to suck. Because everything that happens in the middle of success that sucks before you get there is the stuff that makes people give up. You ever see that picture with the 2 people, digging through the dirt? And then one person gives up and turns around and the other person keeps digging, and it was like 3-4 layers farther was where all the treasure was. And I think that's like 90% of people that give up right before the treasure was a couple layers deeper, or a couple failures more, or maybe a couple more jabs to the face. So I tell people the best way to reverse engineer it is think about the things that could you up on your path. Think about how they're going to feel when they happen. Think about how you typically react when they happen. Think about how you could change your reaction when they happen. Think about positive action items you could lay on those things when they happen and how you could change them. For example, if I know I want to reach financial freedom, right now what I'm going through is I'm in a stacking phase, right? The stacking phase means I do have to fill up my schedule. I do have to talk to as many companies as possible. I do have to do as many shows as possible. I do have to coach as many people as possible. Because if I want to have the name that I seek to be worldwide, I'm going to have to work my ass off. And right now I think about working my ass off not seeing my son tonight. He's about to go to sleep. All right. True story. Missing weekends. All of these things suck. And I don't like them, and they make me feel negative. But the fact that I think about those things right now, and I say there's gonna be a bunch more of that stuff coming. I'm gonna miss more events, more birthdays. I might have to work a lot harder. I work today till 7, I might have to work till 10. The market might go down, I might get double the business. I might have to hire more people. I might be short-handed, I might have to do many jobs. I'm gonna get mad, I'm gonna break a keyboard. I'm gonna think about all of these things that people typically give up when they happen. I'm gonna think about them. I'm gonna visualize them happening. And then I'm going to say, after this happens and I break my keyboard, I'm going to save this link on Amazon and I'm going to buy 2 extra keyboards and put it in my closet. So that way when my keyboard breaks, I look in the closet, I'm like, hey, no big deal. I knew that was going to happen. And I grab a new keyboard and put it out here. When a client shops me, I'm not going to get upset and say, F this and let it affect me to the next call. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to make a shopping email and I'm going to save it as a template on my desktop. And I'm going to say, every single time somebody shops me, here's an email I'm going to spend 10 minutes on a Sunday with all the reasons why I'm great and I care about people deeply, and a picture of me and my family, and I'm going to use that every single time as a positive action item to send it out to the client and send this text that I have saved, and I'm going to replace it with a positive action item. And then you see your life change. I'm going to say, you know what? My relationship, man, I'm going to have times where, there's going to be arguments. There's going to be fights because, I'm working so much. Sometimes I get lost in the sauce. That's going to happen. And, when those things happen, instead of getting angry and upset and making things worse, I'm going to take a walk outside and remember this stuff is supposed to happen. I need to be there for my family, and I need to be an active listener and give as much to my family as I give at work. And I might write that note on my desk and put it right in front of me right here. And the next time it happens, I look at that note and I say, I remember this. I thought about this. And this is really what you need to do right now. You need to write down, where do you want to be as far as success is concerned? And then what is all the bullshit? And I know this is it seems like it's negative because I always say visualize positive things and everything in life connects. I'm not saying to imagine the worst things happening and then wish that they happen. I'm saying if the worst case scenario happened, what are the worst things that could happen to you along the journey today? Or along the journey this week, or along the journey this month, or along the journey this year? What are the worst possible things that could happen to you? And how are you going to feel when they happen? And what does a loser do when they happen typically? And what are you going to do differently when they happen? And what's a positive action you could put on there? Yeah, and it sounds crazy, but you know what? How about this Sunday you spend 2 hours doing positive actions for all these things and watch your life change? Because this is what true success is. And I'm literally telling you this from experience of a place where I've primed my mind for years and years to get to this place that I'm at today. And I'm still not perfect and I still have my faults, but I'm giving you my sauce deep down from my heart because I know you have potential. And I know if you truly do this and you stay disciplined to it, you're going to change your life. You're going to change your being. You're going to wake up every single day and become a better version of yourself, which is a true ultimate sacrifice. And it's a true fulfillment in life. And it's true ultimate purpose in your life. So that's what I'd suggest doing before even thinking about the success, is thinking about all the bullshit that's going to happen on the way there. How's it going to feel to the average loser? What are you going to do differently? How could you replace it with a positive action item? And how could you stay moving forward and not let it stop you or take you back? Or if it takes you back, how are you going to learn and come back even stronger every single time you fall? What do you want in your life? And when you think about what you want in your life, understand that what you want in your life is going to change many times. So don't think what you want right now is what you're going to want forever. Think about what you want in levels. What's the first level of what you want? And as you mature and hit that and change and get better, what's the second level of what you want? And as you mature and hit that and get better and deal with all the bullshit in between, which is where the funnel gets, thinner and thinner and thinner, because nobody could go through the bullshit, and it's just more and more bullshit. The deeper you get and the more successful you get, right? They say that money doesn't solve problems. The more money you have, the deeper the problems, the deeper the pockets. It comes with the role. So when I say think about what you want, you have to really go deep and tell yourself, if I had a 5-year vision, I could literally say right now what I want to happen in 2029, 2030. I could literally write down 3 paragraphs of how I wake up in the morning and what happens. I wake up in the morning, I come downstairs. I see this. I see my wife. I see my husband. I see my kids. I go outside. Here's the cars. I put on my suit. Here's where I go. I get out of the car. Here's what I do. What does that story sound like to you? If you're making this movie right now, what does your vision truly sound like? If you really want to get deep and crazy, write a letter to yourself. And for me, I have Siri read it to me every single day while I brush my teeth.
Daily. The wait is over and you conditioned yourself well enough to prepare for this year. The year of separation from the sheep. A year of separation from your weak self. A year of absolute relentless pursuit to demolish every ounce of your goals and break barriers you thought.
I'm talking to myself and my future self of how my life's going to look next year. Simple action, right? Like, you know, out of the percentage of people that actually do goals, maybe like 20% of them go back to them. Maybe 10% continue to go back to them. Maybe 5% reevaluate every quarter and actually stick to them the whole year. For me, I write it down one time. I swipe my phone down, and every single day when I brush my teeth, I have Siri read the goals to me. Such a simple action, but imagine what it's doing inside of this brain. Just imagine that for 365 days, listening to your own story of how you want your life to be. Like, think about priming in like the Will Smith Focus movie. He wanted the guy to bet on 55. He put fives all around him. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. The guy bet on 55. It's the same exact thing. You want to accomplish your goals, and you have to tell yourself your goals all day long. And then eventually, like, your mind's like, that shit, that's not part of my goals, it's not part of my journey. Not because you have self-discipline, because you f***ed your mind up reading your goals every single day or listening to your goals every single day. So like, that's a simple action. Figuring out what you want is one thing, but having a constant reminder of this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. Like, I want $1 million month. I have $1 million chocolate bar in front of me. I want to have $1 million month, not $1 million year. I'm trying to have $1 million month. And once I have that $1 million month, I could open up this chocolate and eat it. And I haven't ate chocolate in a long time, so it's going to be a hell of a good chocolate once I get it. That's in front of me right now. It's small things like this. It's small things like lighting a candle that says I am wealthy and playing positive affirmations when I'm doing my work in the morning. Like, all these small things like that, people like think, sometimes people think it's crazy, and like, I can't even listen to music in the car anymore because like, I'm not even used to it. It's not comfortable for me no more. It used to be tough, you know, to not listen to music, and now it's like tough to listen to music because I'm always listening to something to inspire me and push me forward. So a lot of these things seem like they're difficult in the beginning, but if you break through and make them habits and consistent, it's going to change you overall. So what do you want? Write a letter to yourself, or write your goals, or get a picture and just put it somewhere that it's going to remind you every single day. Perfect spot is at the mirror where you brush your teeth every single morning. Should be the first thing you see and the last thing you see if you brush your teeth twice a day. It could be at your desk. It could be in your car, in your dashboard. It could be in your phone. But have that in front of you every single day and actually look at it, visualize it, read it, listen to it. Whatever you have to do, choose your reminder and see what happens after 34. Like, if you don't believe me, just do it for 14 days and see what happens. Like, see if anything changes. And it might be the slightest little thing that changes, but that thing connects to something else, and then it connects to something else, and it connects to something else, and it continues to connect as you go. And then we talked about the ladders in the New Year's call, and I want to mention the ladders again to you. When you look at a ladder, like, if my goal is to have $1 million month, then my first goal is going to be for my ladder. Well, first I got to break $100,000 month. Then I got to break a $300,000 month. And then I got to break a $600,000 month. And then I got to break a $900,000 month. So maybe I break it down into ladders, and every single time I accomplish a ladder, I move to the next step. But that's one part of it. That's the ladder for like what I want to do. But then there's a second ladder that goes right by this ladder, and that ladder is for what actions is it going to take to get there. So the first action to get to, what do we say, 300,000 a month. For me, it might be like working with 30 companies, maybe. Okay, 30 companies might be 300,000 a month. Maybe it might be 1,000 more students. Maybe it might be originating this many deals. Whatever it is, I'm going to write that down. The second step might be this many companies and also making this much money off ads. The third step might be this many companies making this much off ads online, and then also making this much off company venues, you know, renting out venues and speaking. And the fourth step might be the ads, the marketing, the venues, and then affiliates. And like, I go through those steps. So every time I accomplish a step, I got to add another action to get to the next level, and I'm continuing to grow. And like, it could be the same for weight loss. You know, you want to lose, let's say, 100 pounds, or let's say 50 pounds by the end of the year. Well, you break it down into what? 4.2 pounds per month. And then maybe the first step is, you know, 12 pounds is going to take this, and you hit 12 pounds with just doing a mile cardio a day. Then you want to get to the second step, and you want to say, well, now I want to burn a little more. I want to do 15 pounds this second quarter. Well, then you say, 15 pounds, I was doing cardio. Now I'm going to add, you know, not eating at night and intermittent fasting. Then the third step, once you hit that goal and you want to go even farther, you say, now for the fourth step, I'm going to run at night too, in the morning and at night. Then for the fourth and last step, to even get to that next level, all right, now I'm going to cut all carbs. And now like, you're taking it up a notch. So you break down your goal into a ladder. Like, this is my goal in elephant chunk sizes. is, right? You're going to eat an elephant one bite at a time. Here's this bite, this bite, this bite, this bite in order. And then every single bite comes with an action bite. And this is kind of the same thing we're talking about here, about the squiggly line. It's like everybody knows what they want to do, but are they taking all the squiggly shit that happens in between? How many hours it's going to take? How much marketing dollars you're going to have to spend? How much sleep you're going to have to lose? What people you're going to have to get involved with? What people you're going to have to be disinvolved with and you're going to have to separate from? Like, that's what really should go down the ladder to really, really focus and create wealth in your life and success if you really want to get it done. Light at the end of the tunnel is super important. And because I'm going to Florida March 21st, I had to take 2 weekdays off, a Friday and a Thursday and a Friday. And those 2 days, I usually have companies that I train and one-on-ones and things that I do because I got a pretty packed schedule. So I had to go to the week before that and I had to jam it all in. That's why it's jammed right now. So I had to go instead of working till 6, I'm working till 8. Instead of taking lunches, my 1 o'clock lunch is now meetings every single day at 1. So I jammed all these things in. But that's only because I have light at the end of the tunnel. You see, I understand that I'm going to work my ass off for the next 14 days. But then I get 4 days in an oceanfront suite at the W in Fort Lauderdale. And I'm going to be waking up every single day to the sunrise. And I'm going to be reading on the balcony. I'm going to be enjoying time with my family. That's well-deserved and well-missed. And because of that, I work hard. Now, let's say I just work hard, took off my lunch, and just kept doing this. Didn't have any light at the end of the tunnel. No reward, no for me, I'd probably be stressed out. I'd probably break a lot more keyboards than just 1 1/4. So it's important that you have your light at the end of the tunnel. There was a girl that trained with me, and that's one thing we did for her. She was going through depression because a lot of stuff going on in her life. And one thing we did was we just started setting up lights at the end of the tunnel. One light at the end of the tunnel was, you haven't seen your family, we're going to call them right now on speaker. Pretend I'm not here. We're going to arrange a dinner. We're going to reserve the dinner. We're going to put a deposit for the dinner. We're not going to give them a choice. They have to come. You got dinner with your family Friday. Sunday, we're going to do painting with a twist. In a month, we're going to book Florida. How are you going to get there? You're going to write more loans. We'll figure it out together. You're going to do more deals. We'll figure it out together. You're going to work harder. You'll be happier. We'll figure it out together. Just put it in there. And once you start putting these things into your plan and your calendar, and you print a picture of Florida or the beach, you put it in front of you, or you put a picture of the Rolex in front of you, or you put something on layaway, or you put a picture of your dream spouse in front of you and what you want to do for them, or the wedding or the house, whatever it is, you have to keep that light at the end of the tunnel, because once it's in front of you and it's primed your mind and you're reading it to yourself every single day in your goals and you have a picture of it, the way I know if people are actually doing this and if people are actually driven is if you let the bullshit affect you. If I see somebody that gets mad with a bad lead or a bad call or somebody shopping them or something going bad in process, and I see them get affected and move away and start talking shit and being negative, you know what I tell myself? I say this person has lost their purpose and drive. They don't even know what they're doing. They're totally unconscious. Because if you put the light at the end of the tunnel, you put a ladder for that light and you say, well, if I'm going to go to Florida March 21st, again, what are the bad things that could happen on the way there that usually make people give up and get mad? Work a lot of hours, lose family time, lose friend time, lose sleep, lose some time in the gym, lose some time in my I have to go through all this, but then I get to this. Then there's light at the end of the tunnel. And that's super important that you keep a prize at the end of every single week and every single month. I don't give a shit if it's having a drink. I don't care if it's having a cigar. I don't care if it's doing a cheat meal. I don't care if it's taking a personal day off. Work hard, but work hard for something. Work hard for something. Reward yourself, enjoy it. You get dopamine. You're like, yes, dopamine. That felt good. I want to work hard again. You work hard again. But a lot of times we forget about the dopamine, the light at the end of the tunnel, and it gets very dry. And then again, when I see somebody that has one small argument with somebody or one fallout reason, or they wake up late, or they get a ticket on the road, or they get into a small accident, God forbid, or something happens, and this person totally loses control, and it's stay away from this person for an hour. I totally feel like they've lost their purpose and they've lost their why and they've lost their values. You want to talk about, real imbalance? People say work-life balance. How about life bullshit balance? What you're doing this all for compared to all the bullshit balance. That's the real balance that you should have right now. Getting a ticket, being financially free. Working 12 hours, hitting the beach. Losing time with friends, having all the time that I want in my life. What is really weighing on both sides when these small things that affect you happen? And then are you thinking about your purpose and thinking about everything in your life that's going good and where your life could be and visualizing and doing all that? Because if you truly are, then you know where the weight scale stands. And you shouldn't let those things affect you. I'm not saying be a machine. I'm saying internalize it. This happened. I get it. It sucks. What could I do now to keep moving forward? What could I do now to learn? How could I store this internally so it doesn't happen again? And then you keep moving forward every single time. This is where the real magic happens. But you have to create a ritual for this stuff or it's not gonna work. You know, like, it's not about motivation. It's not about, having a good day or a good week or a good month. It's about having a good life. It's not about being successful at work. It's being successful at life. It's not about being a good worker or a good salesperson. It's about being a good human. Like, we're talking about levels to this shit, and this is the ultimate level. It's a divine bridge of incidence. It's a path of righteousness. It's the ultimate path. So again, the reason why I think this is easier for me to do and I've been accustomed to is because I've created rituals in my life that help me. And one of those rituals is the way you start your day. Like I said, brushing my teeth and then listening to this, like that's a positive fire. Right in the morning, I'm starting the fire very early. The first thing I listen to is my own story. Think about that positive fire and what happens. Now I go downstairs and I see the orange juice and I'm like, that shit has sugar in it. The orange juice. And I grab my water, and it's small things because I listened to this and cutting out sugar in my letter that I wrote to myself. So like all these things are connecting, right? And then I know working out in the morning makes me feel good and it relieves tension. So I try to work out first thing in the morning. And then I meditate. But when I meditate into what I'm grateful for, because you can't receive things if you're not grateful for what you already have. And the second thing I meditate is like about my goals. And then the third thing I meditate into my day. I say, how is this day going to go if it was a perfect day? How's this day gonna go if it was a horrible day? How am I gonna act if the horrible things happen? How am I gonna feel if the horrible things happen? How am I going to combat the horrible things? How's my life going to look in 5 years by combating these horrible things and doing this every single day? And then after doing all of that, I'll close my eyes and just go into the blank darkness and just realize I'm here, I'm alive. How do I feel? How do my bones feel? How does my body feel? My feet are touching the floor. And like I do that for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Then I force myself to read a chapter of a book because it's right in my sauna where I meditate. So the book's always in there and I read. And then I go take a cold shower, put on my clothes, listen to something motivational on the way. I come look at my schedule. When I look at my schedule, I look up and I see all these reminders on my desk of what I'm doing it all for. And then I say, let's go, motherfucker, it's go time. And like, that's a strong ritual. Without that ritual, I wouldn't be able to do all of this. So I'm telling you, you have to create that ritual. You have to create a ritual when things don't go your way during the day. Like, what's something that could remind you of this video right here? What you're watching right here, like, how could you remind yourself of this? What ritual could you create for yourself in the morning? And then like, if it's hard for you and like you get negative fast, then create another ritual in the afternoon. Maybe every single day at lunch, you take a walk, you read your goals, or you call somebody, you tell them how it's going, or you jot down some notes. Maybe you meditate, maybe you pray. Like, what are you going to do in the middle of the day to remind yourself of this? And then maybe what are you going to do at the end of the day? Sometimes I'll play like affirmations and I'll play like positive audio and I'll go to sleep to it. So that way I'm sleeping into positive frequencies. I'm waking up. Some people think that shit sounds crazy. To me, that shit sounds like common sense. Why wouldn't I feed my brain positivity to go to sleep? Why wouldn't I feed myself my own goals and vision in life when I wake up? Why wouldn't I do these things when they make total sense? So I believe the most important part is having these rituals, having the background on your phone, telling people your goals, having Siri read them for you, writing a letter for yourself, going back to this presentation and putting the light at the end of the tunnel, actually doing the work, writing down the steps it's going to take, the effort steps it's going to take, figuring out what you want, figuring out the squiggly line, getting to financial freedom. I think that's really how you're going to get this done, is actually doing the work and making it a routine. So how are you going to make it a routine for yourself is what I ask you. It's one thing to say this has changed my life, but it's changed a lot of people's lives. I mean, I knew somebody that used to pull out their hair from how tense they were and how upset they would be and how nerve-wracking they were. They used to pull their hair out of their head. And this person almost lost everything. And I gave a version of this presentation to this person, but it was one-on-one in a room. And I told this person, I wrote down on a board, I said, here's the negative things that are happening to you every day, and here's how you deal with them. You take a negative thing, and then you deal with it with a negative action, and it leads to another negative thought, that leads to another negative action, and pretty soon you're in a negative volcano. And I said, we have to change that. So we started writing down the 4, 5, 6 things that typically tick this individual off, where you feel like, oh shit, this happened again. Here we go. Here comes the bitching. Here comes the complaining. Here comes the negativity. All those moments, we took those 5, 6 things and we created opposite positive action items every single time they're happening. Every single time a client shops you, instead of saying, all right, man, hanging up quick and getting mad, you're going to actually hit them with all you got at the end and say, listen, I understand you're shopping. It makes total sense to me. I want you to get the best deal. Here's the reason why I'm going to be your guy. You go deep, talk about the emotional benefits, talk about things you remembered, send an email, send a text, wake up in the morning, send an email, send a text. You be the guy that communicates at the highest level, so when you're earning their business, it feels good. You get into a fight with your girlfriend or boyfriend, instead of making it worse, You're going to come into work, get an opinion on it. At lunch, you're going to talk to them. You're going to solve that, make yourself better because of it. Come back and take more calls and do better. Not keep fighting and texting and sending paragraph after paragraph and just pulling out your hair and getting upset. So we took all these negative actions and we started changing them, and that changes life. Changes life, I mean, from like $9 paychecks to $30,000, $40,000 to promotions to being a leader to owning businesses to owning houses. I mean, I'm talking about change his life big from this presentation right here in a small version. You guys are getting a lot more than what I just gave him. There was females that I had in my academy that had a lot of problems struggling, depression, death, sicknesses in family, and this kind of stuff changed their life around. There was a girl that told me one time just meditating in the morning and doing a hot bath after the gym changed her life because she was spending 30, 40 minutes by herself in the morning and focusing on positive things for the day, and that changed her life by itself. All these things that people consider small, it's really these things right here. It's all these small pieces to a puzzle. People are like, yeah, that's dumb. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, like, all right, yeah, I'll listen to that. Yeah, no, I like music. Like all that small shit, you put it together and that adds up to the big thing. What does it take to be successful? What does it take to be successful? What does it take to be successful? It's not one thing. It was never, ever one thing. It's all the out-of-the-box, small, little, weird, one-off things that people do, and the greatest people do all those small, one-off things consistently, and they're normal to them like they're normal to me, and they become big things, and then majority of people who are average think these people are crazy, and the people that are doing that, making big money, think everybody else is crazy. And it's a paradigm shift of the mind. It's literally a mind when you think about it. That you have, 90% of the world thinks this kind of stuff is weird. And then you have, the top 10% or 5% say that people don't really know the treasures that they really have, inside this presentation. The small things that really could change your life for the better. Law of attraction, the secret, the dumb stuff, So just to recap, number one, how do you become like water? Well, you have to think about a time where you became like water and think about all the circumstances you had in that time and the things that you did in that time. What was laying on the table? Who motivated you? How did you feel? How did you act? Why did you act that way? Number two, how do I do it? I do it because I have no other choice and I prime my mind to do it. Number three, the definition of success is true financial freedom. There's always going to be a level and a destination, but what's your ultimate level of freedom and how are you remembering that and breaking it down into years and steps? Number four, it's not easy. That's the first thing you want to tell yourself. This shit's not easy. Like you think it's easy. Like, all right, if it's easy, why don't you wake up for the next 10 days in a row and meditate in the morning? And then text me on the 10th day and say, Ace, I did it. 10 days. Like all these small things are not easy. It just takes a little bit of discipline, creating a habit. And then it's really easy after the 10 days or after the 20 days when it becomes habit. That's when it becomes easy. But you got to do the hard 10 to 20 days for it to get easy. Number five, figuring out what you actually want and what your life's going to become in the future. Like having that vision. And then number six, creating a ladder for that vision of breaking it down into steps, breaking it down into actions, and then writing down all the negative things that happen in between there and where people usually fail and the way you're going to feel and combating those thoughts with positive action so that way you're ready and prepared for everything. Like if I get in a boxing ring, but before I get into the boxing ring, I took a lot of hits to the head and I trained with the toughest fighters in the world. I'm going to be ready for that fight. But if I get into a boxing ring and I've never taken a hit to the face, I never even thought about getting hit in this fight. I thought I'm going to go into a perfect fight and I get hit. I'm going to be knocked out, dizzy, and confused. So it's really about priming your mind for the obstacle course. Knowing there's going to be booby traps on the obstacle course. How are you going to deal with those? Creating light at the end of the tunnel. Right now, what are you fighting for? Some of you guys are in like March Madness contests and stuff. What happens after March? If you don't know, you better put something in front of you and make sure you have it because you don't want to burn yourself out unless you have a reward at the end of the tunnel. Number eight, weighing out the bullshit. If you really know your purpose and your why and you're really priming your mind for it and your dreams are really important to you, then stop getting mad at the dumb shit. Stop churning around and going the other way. If you really know what you want, then you got to be like a shark, and a shark never moves directions. A shark never stops. A shark never turns around. A shark moves one direction straight, and it bulldozes through all the bullshit. Number nine, creating a ritual to prime your mind for success. All of this stuff is not easy. That's why a ritual is important. Like think about this. Every single time you get out of the shower, you dry your body the same exact way. Did you know that? Well, if you think about it now, you're going to know that. You do that without any thought, So a lot of people are unconscious because they think these things are so hard. But really, if you just get conscious for a second and realize that it's the same exact way you dry your body after 21 days of doing it. If you just keep doing it and it turns into a habit, it's just like drying your body. You remove the thought. You don't got to make the decision. It's not that serious anymore. And you keep it moving. And then number 10, people's lives are changing from this stuff. My life has changed. I've changed hundreds of people's lives through these exact things. Leaders, senior leaders, executives that make millions of dollars a month are doing my coaching program one-on-one. These are the kind of things I'm talking to them about, but I'm holding them accountable to that. And then I wanted to remind you that we do have one-on-one coaching on the Academy. You could reserve your spot straight in the calendar. It says a half an hour, but I'll go a full hour with you if you need it. I always go over my time, so I got your back with that, and I'll make sure it's worth your while if you ever need that. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you're enjoying it. If you'd like to see a bunch more content exclusively for you, sales, leadership, mindset, business, growth, click right down here below and hit subscribe for me. Every single week, you're going to get exclusive content delivered to you first. We also have a link in the bio with all of our products and coaching. We'd love to help you 10x your business and 10x your sales. Thank you for being a part of the community. We appreciate you.